Habari zenyu nyote, karibu kwa KDDP, Kuza Digital Discipleship Podcast. Leo tunafurahi sana mko nasi, tunashukuru kwa kuwa Mungu ametuweka buheri wa afya. Now I know some fellas already have been confused and perplexed about it. Basically you're saying welcome. We are very excited to be with you guys here today. I hope you're quarantining okay, you're washing your hands, and that right now you're even taking enough time just to make sure that you are keeping that social distancing thing. Now please note, these are all things that we are doing just for our safety, and of course we keep on praying that all this COVID-19 thing is going to be a passing wind. In the meantime, I'm very excited today to host us once again. We are still having these COVID-19 conversations, and our conversation today is going to be pretty much on God and COVID-19 again. But before we do that, I want to welcome you to reach out to us on Gmail, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, all of that at Kuza app, and you're going to find us there. You can also reach us at 0799-254-254, and we will be more than glad to listen to you and to share the vibes that we're doing. Again, if you go online, please make sure now that you're home, I'm pretty sure you have a lot of bundles, make sure you go to your iOS or your Android stores and download the Kuza app and engage and interact with all the nice and amazing and God-centered devotions that are going to find there. I know right now you have a lot of time in your hands, and so you need something to get your mind going on and on and on. And so right about now, I want to turn my attention to my guys here. Pretty much by now you know all their names, and so I'll just tell them just in case we have somebody visiting for the first time. So please introduce na useme unatoka wapi, unafanya nini?
Niaje, jina langu ni Matthew. Mimi ni missionary hapa with Kuza. Nafurahi sana kuongea hapa. Asante mwalimu.
Karibu sana man.
Yeah, and mimi ni Victor Okelo. You can also call me as Saddam. I do student discipleship with Kenya Technical Trainers College.
All right, fantastic. Now these are the guys that we have been doing some things with, and today there's a conversation that we want to pick from last time. We did a talk on COVID-19 and Jesus Christ and God, and how all these things can come into perspective. Now today Vic, our friend, wrote something on God caused it, and this one has brought in quite some hits as well, I can say. I mean, there are several things that you said in that blog that somebody who doesn't probably know much about Christianity and Jesus would probably be thinking, dude, what are you talking about? And as you know it and as you've read, we've already gotten some clenched fists. People are ready to fight. And so right about now, I want you to just share with us and let us understand, where were you coming from when you wrote this blog, like God caused it? Brother, what wanna kufa, country ndo hivi vitu zina slow down, and then you just throw it outside there and say, God caused it. What did you mean?
One, when you're looking for a solution to any problem,
right,
you need to find the source.
Okay.
The source of that problem, then you get the solution from the source. Okay. That's basically it. And so we have a problem right now that is affecting the entire world.
All right.
And so the best question to ask is not how to simply solve the problem, but most importantly, where the problem came from.
Okay.
Because when you know the root, we can be able to pull out that problem from the root.
All right.
And so I was thinking about it, and I've been doing a series with my guys at Kenya Technical Trainers College, and we are doing a series in Colossians chapter 1 verses 15 to 23. Striking words here about Jesus,
okay,
who is the Son of God, and zoom into to verses 16 and 17. Most importantly, verses 16, for by him all things were created, in heaven and on earth, things that are visible and things that are invisible. Whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created through him and from him. Now, all things here include the virus that causes COVID-19.
All right, just hold it right there. Now, I'm looking at myself as somebody who has no idea of all things that you're talking about, and that kind of sovereignty. Now, please talk to somebody who is watching, and already at the very beginning of your words, they have an issue. I'm just thinking like, yo, come on, excuse me. Yes. I mean, we've had Ebola. Are you saying that is God? We've had AIDS. Are you saying that is God? We're having people being. Are you saying that is God? I mean, help me understand that in a layman's language.
In a layman's language, we understand here that one, the source and and the source of everything is God. That is the first point I laid in the blog. The second point I laid is that He is the one who sustains everything.
Okay.
And the third point I laid is that He does all these things for good. Now the first point will build up to the second point, because He's the one who created everything. He's the one who will sustain everything.
Okay.
So He sustains things, meaning He will keep them as long as He pleases. Now, this is to mean that this world exists because God made it, right?
All right.
We love this world, we love to see the nature, and we're enjoying these things. We ourselves, we are here because God created us.
Okay.
And He is the one who is sustaining us.
Right.
He is keeping us. Hebrews
Okay.
chapter 1
Okay.
verses 3. Okay?
Uh-huh.
And so everything that will come,
Yes.
we should do what? Ask the one who is keeping this world to help us through it, because He's the one who keeps us. So the reason why I said He caused it is because of the second point. He is the one who again will sustain it. He brought it, He will sustain it, and He will eventually, at the crown of it, work everything for His glory.
You know, when you say He sustains it, bana, unataka kutuambia kitu haishi.
Now, He sustains everything, not only COVID-19,
But even us.
but even us.
But even
So
us.
most importantly, let's think of it ourselves as
Right,
human beings.
right.
God has created us. God is keeping us,
Okay.
and He's sustaining us. So whom should we run to when we have an issue? It is Him.
Okay.
So that's the reason why I wrote this article, to just bring the attention of people to realize that let us not fix our mind on things that are weak, like human beings. Like the last time we were saying, if we just simply think that COVID was just from a bat, or maybe it is from a lab, then where is our hope? Their hope is to be on a lab. And at the end of the day, we'll ask, who will give that doctor the knowledge in that lab to come up with an antidote for this? It is still God. So the ultimate causer is the ultimate solution.
All right.
And so I'm just saying, let's draw this from God, and then if He is the one who caused it, then He is the only one who will keep us human beings
All right.
through it, save us from it, and eventually our hope therefore will be in who? In Him.
All right. Let me just pick you up on a statement there. You said therefore on God directs. You know, in the blog you said, therefore, yes, God is behind the great causes that we see. He's not always the agent by which the great tragedies of the world happen, such as COVID-19, but He's sovereignly in charge of it all. And God is also the one who subjected the world to futility, because man chose to rebel and not give Him glory. But God knew that would happen, even ordained it for His glory. Some serious words there. I mean, just try and just on this part before I so much wanted to chip in and say
You
something.
mind if I help you out?
Go ahead.
Something one. Maybe some ways you're talking about in the end, like how God's not always directly involved.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
maybe summarize that real quickly.
Right.
We see that in the story of Job. Job chapter 1, that the devil reports to God in Job 1.
Yeah.
God says, what have you been doing in all the earth? So we can see again that the devil himself has to give a report to God. And then the devil said, well, I've been going around and basically I've been wrecking people's lives, to summarize
Kwa
it.
Kiswahili anasema nimekuwa nikirandaranda.
Yeah, indeed, nimekiranda-randa, nimeleta fujo, right? Kwa watu wengine.
Nilikuwa raundi mwenda.
Sasa, and then the devil acts like it's no big deal. Hakuna shida, nimeshinda, watu wengi sana. And then now God says to the devil, well, have you considered my servant Job? And then the devil now says, well, you basically put a hedge of protection around him. Of course he's okay. In other words, He's always going to bless you when there's blessings that surround him. And now God says, okay, we'll see if He'll still bless me. Remove all the blessings. But God limits the devil.
Okay.
He doesn't let him have full reign. He says, but don't touch his life. At the beginning He says, don't touch his health. And then now the devil takes away all of his wealth, his children, and everything. God ordained that. God allowed that. God, in fact, told the devil, go ahead and touch him.
Right.
Now, the one who actually does the evil is the devil. The one who allowed it and ordained it is God. And it was even God's idea to do this. But now we know the end of the story, like Vic was saying. God ended up giving, Job does not curse God. Job remains faithful, though he questions a lot with God.
Right.
And at the end, Job gets double everything that he originally had.
Right.
And also God blesses him abundantly. God is glorified, and it was done through Job. And we ourselves benefit from the pain that Job went through, because now we get some understanding of kwa nini hiyo mambo inapita kama hiyo.
Right. In God works it for good. In that section of the blog, you gave us an amazing picture of a movie writer who, he puts all these things together, and and what wameuliwa nini, but at the end of the day, he knows the end of the story. And on account of that, because as you just keep on shedding more light on this, God caused it, and you talked about something about the fact that he's the one who directs it. He's responsible and working for his glory. Yes. Can you just add that together? God is responsible and working for his glory, with that analogy that you gave of that movie writer, that God is also working it for good, so that we can just give our viewer perspective. Like, we are here right now. When you say God caused it, it definitely it has somewhere. We have somewhere where we are coming from with this kind of idea, and the bigger picture at the end of the day.
William Shakespeare's famous book Romeo and Juliet. Very, very nice building of the story, love, okay? But at the end of it, Romeo pretends he's dead. The girl kills herself. Then Romeo again kills himself. Very tragic ending, right?
Yeah.
And then guys did not say Romeo and Juliet were good actors. People said Shakespeare is a very excellent writer.
Okay.
You get?
Right.
Now, it is the same effect we will have eventually when we will see this entire book unfolding.
Right.
The book of the universe is written by God. He incepted it. He will consume it.
Right.
In its consumption, at the end of it, we will say, as Revelation 15:3 says, "Just and true are your works, O Lord." We will be blown with amazement of what He has been doing throughout time. And why? Because right now, at the moment of it, it is tense, it is crazy, and things are like creeping on us. Our backs are against the wall, and we do not think everything is working for good.
Right.
But for Christians, we have a hope. The hope that we have right now is that we are saying, okay, in the movie are God.
Okay.
And so who is stronger than Him? No one.
Right.
Who is directing things? He is the one. And that's where our hope is.
All right.
And that is basically what Paul is focusing on and zooming in when he's writing Romans chapter 8. A lot of problems is happening in Romans. Even he himself is seeing so much problem, and he bursts out in praise and says, what can come between us and the love of God? Nothing.
Nothing.
And one of the things he writes there is illness. And right now we have the illness. And this is a guy who has focused his mind on the mighty work of God and say, it's its consumption, it will be its end, and at the end of it all we'll say, just and true are your works, O Lord. So right now we might not see it as such, but then we know that we have a God who is working all things for His glory.
How is God good at this point in time? Either of you can respond to this. How is God? Because at the end of the day, He caused it. Okay, fine. We are trying to explain to guys, but God is good. How?
This is what I would say. Let's wait till the end of the story.
Right.
Right.
And then we will see how God is.
Yeah. Like let me illustrate this a little bit. This is a story that I heard Ravi Zacharias share a while back, but I'm gonna Africanize it a little bit.
Yeah, give it your best shot.
Give my best shot. There was an Mzee. The Mzee had one son, and he had a whole herd of goats. And now the son took the goats out to, out into the graze, out into the fields, and all of a sudden a gang of thieves comes, and they beat the son. They to the point where his leg is broken, he's bloody, he's bruised, and all the goats are stolen. This is bad.
No,
bad news.
Very bad, very bad.
The son barely makes it home, barely alive. And now the Wazee come together, and they say to the Mzee, whose son has been beaten, Pole sana, what terrible luck. Ini bahati mbaya. And the Mzee says, kama ni bahati mzuri ama ni bahati mbaya, mimi sijui. Now, a little bit later, a militia comes in, like a serious gang now. And they come in the whole village, and they steal everybody's goats. All the Wazee, everybody's goats get stolen. And they start taking the girls, and they make the young girls, they'll become now their wives. They take the young boys, they steal the young boys, saying they'll become part of their militia in the future. Now they come to Mzay's house. He has no goats. The goats have been stolen. They go to his son. They see him with a broken leg. He's bloody. He's bruised. He's just in bed, even barely living. They said, "Wachana na yeye, Mzee, wachana na yeye," and they just leave the house. About a month passes by, and some people, the neighboring village, calls by and says, "Mzee, tumeona goats yako." And Mzee went and he collected all of his goats were there. None of them were lost. And then about a month later, his son was healed. The broken leg was healed back and he was okay. So at the end of the day, at the end of the story, it worked for good.
He got the son's legs
Yes.
and the goats.
Exactly. So you can see halfway through the story, you don't see how any good can come from that.
Okay.
But at the end of the story, good comes to that. So right now, I would say, Marvin, we're in the middle of the story.
We're in the middle of the
We're in
story.
the middle of the story. Hatujui
All right.
vizuri inakuwa kivipi.
Okay.
But we're trusting in faith that at the end of the story, Romans 8:28, that all things work together for good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose.
Right.
That will be true.
All right.
Yeah.
And so we wait and trust.
That's
And just
interesting.
to add also,
Yeah.
God is still good now. I mean, Mata said it well. I'm just adding the fact that right now, there is a song we love to sing when we are young. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Now, sit down, look at what God has done for you. Look at the things that God is doing right now. There is a lot of research work being done over this COVID-19. That's a blessing, right? People have rested. That's a blessing. People are now having more time with their kids and their families. In Nairobi, for instance, there was a time I used to think, how are people in Nairobi surviving with their families? Because you wake up at 5, you come back at 9. All right? But now, it is possible to work in Nairobi, go to work at 6, and come back before 7.
I mean, they've been saying globally that the maritime, like in the oceans and stuff,
Yeah.
there's less pollution because
Right
most
now.
companies have
Have
closed
closed down.
and so there's more interesting, animals from water, fish coming up, and just
closer
like,
to the surface.
Interesting,
So
man. I don't know.
There are hard times,
Right.
yes, indeed. But then even in that hard time, you're seeing a lot of good things that are sprouting up. And this is the reason why we are saying God is in control.
All right.
That even in the darkest of it, there's beauty in that.
There's beauty in
Yeah.
that. There's beauty in that. Matt, I mean, can you help the viewer today to probably grasp the most important thing that they need to go home with in their hearts? So we are saying God caused it, and the reason that is because He's the sustainer of all things, as Vic has rightly said. And as you're watching, please make sure that you visit us on www.kuzaapp.com and you read that blog so that you can understand where you're coming from, because you can't capture all these things in the time that we have. So for now, what does our viewer today need to grasp critically at a time like this?
Marvin, I was in my devotion, I've been studying the book of 1 Peter.
All right.
And there was a verse in 1 Peter 1:6 that really struck me.
Okay.
It says in 1 Peter 1:6, it says, "In this you rejoice, though now for a little while, if necessary, you have been grieved by various trials." Now, there's two words that really pop out to me in 1 Peter 1:6.
Okay.
At the beginning, it's the word grieved. You've been grieved by various trials. At the beginning of 1 Peter 1:6, it says, "In this you rejoice." So, how do these two things go together, the rejoicing and the grieving? Because right now I would say we're grieving.
You grieve rejoicing.
It's like, it seems like a total paradox.
Yeah,
like they don't
yeah,
seem to
yeah.
go together.
Right.
So, first I want to talk about the grief. I want to say this, is the Bible doesn't hide the fact that we feel grief. I think sometimes as we as Christians, we feel that we can't ever feel grief, or we can't ever feel sadness, we can't ever feel
Like we are
pain.
completely shielded.
Yeah.
We are not supposed to be
Yeah,
like
yeah.
some macho men.
No, but instead, I think that the Bible assumes that both emotions, both feelings can be felt at the same time. We as Christians can rejoice over some things.
Right.
We as Christians can also grieve over some things.
Right.
So I want to tell you, it's okay to grieve. It's okay for you to feel like, hey, pesi na kuwa wapi. We can feel grief because the economy's not doing well. We can feel grief because, we don't know what tomorrow holds. There's anticipation of maybe I'll get sick. Labda watu unapenda watakufa. there's a lot of these grief and things that we're feeling. The uncertainty of just lack of normalcy. I can't even get on a matatu the same way. I can't even go and salamir rafiki yangu the normal way. There's a lot of this grief that we're feeling. So it's okay to feel that. But at the same time, Peter suggests that the Christians here in 1 Peter 1, and by the way, these Christians were the Christians in Asia Minor, modern day Turkey. They were going through severe persecution. Right. Christians were being burned alive. Right. They were being beaten. They were being killed. Yep. I mean, they were struggling even financially. There was a lot of challenges that they were going through. I would say worse than even COVID-19. Wow. But even in the midst of this, Peter says, in this you rejoice. What is this thing that they're rejoicing in 1 Peter 1:6? It's verses 1 through 5. Look at the context. So I want to summarize this a little real quick. In verse 1, they need to rejoice over the fact that they're elect. In other words, God has sovereignly chosen them to be saved, to be a part of His family, to be a part of His children. He says, "You're mine," and that's incredible that God chose them, to be saved. The other thing is in verse 3. It says, according to God's great mercy, He has caused us to be born again. In other words, God has been born again. He puts a new heart in you, a new life in you. And now which causes you, as we can see in 1 Peter 1:2, to live in obedience. What to walk in obedience, to do His right things. And the other thing is now, the effects of God causing us to be born again is we're born again to a living hope. A living hope. Now, what is that hope? That hope is the inheritance. In verse 4, it says, to an inheritance that is imperishable. What is this inheritance? It's heaven. We're going to be, Hebrews says we're going to a new city. Also, we can see other parts of the Bible, we're going to be given a new body. We're going to be given, we're going to be with our friends. We're given a mansion. We're going to have streets to go. We're going to be with God in His presence. We're going to get to see Jesus face to face. I mean, imagine you get to see the Apostle Paul and Peter and Moses and all these things. I mean, it'll be incredible things we get. This is the inheritance. And and the other thing too is, now in verse 5 is, okay, I've been born again. I have a living hope. I have an inheritance. But how do I get that? How do I get this inheritance? The answers in verse 5, through salvation. But back up it says, God's power is guarding our faith, which now leads us to salvation. So God is actively working in us to sustain our faith, that we will be saved, that we do get this inheritance. All these things are future things yet to come. And what we can see is we will be saved from all of this nonsense, all of this futility we see on the earth, all these diseases and all these things. And that is a guarantee that we have it, because God is sustaining us, causing us to walk in obedience, leading us in our faith in order to be closer to Him. And in that we rejoice. This is who Christ, this is what God has done for us, this merciful, kind God. And in that we can rejoice. So yes, we grieve over our trials, but at the same time, we rejoice in those sorts of things. There's something bigger. And I want to say to you, long term, the rejoicing that we will do will be so much greater than any of the grief that we feel.
Amen.
So the rejoicing and the joy that God gives us through salvation, through Jesus Christ, will outshine the grief and trials that we go through. And that, Christian, needs to be your hope.
All right, so this basically we are telling guys that listen up. There's something bigger, better, greater, finer, more chilling, more relaxing than that, whatever we are going through right now. And much as, yes, we are in a situation that, we are thinking like, man, why has God allowed all these things to happen? And like, well, He has allowed it to happen. But remember, as Matt said, we are in the middle of the story. We are in the middle of the story. We don't have the whole thing yet. We are just actors in this story. And one day, the writer, who is God, is going to end the book. And a bibliography will be done, an autobiography will be done, and then the cover will be closed. And we will finally be able to see. Basically, that's what you're saying. And there's a living hope. And that is, I think that is quite exciting. Now, I know that there's a lot going on in many people's minds, and for you who is watching today, that, even just the whole idea of God being in the eye of this storm, it is just like probably perplexing to you. It baffles you, especially if you're there and you've had a friend or a relative or a friend of a friend or a cousin's friend that has been one of the ones that have been diagnosed with this thing called COVID-19. And listen, I think sometimes we probably just put too much attention on the things that affect us, but we forget that there is a lot more that God has shielded us from. You know, the bad is happening, but not the worst. And that is something that we need to be able to capture. The bad is happening, the worst has not happened, at least for us. Well, the worst is that when the trumpet sounds, that we do not have that kind of hope. Now, if you direct your eyes to 1 Peter 5, just to tag on what Matt is talking about, 1 Peter 5 from verse 8 through down to verse 10, Peter is talking about amazing things again, and just to land the plane for today's conversation, that God caused it, and that we are being called to this kind of living hope, and God is going to do well. Ultimately, He's going to show us how well this thing is going to work for us. Peter says, be sober-minded, be watchful. I think at a time like this, I want to urge you and to encourage you, fellow viewer today, that much as we have a lot of fear and anxiety going on, you need to be watchful, be sober-minded. Be sober-minded. Of course, don't drink, don't smoke these things that make your life just go berserk. I think right now we are on quarantine and lockdown. Why? Because it's an opportunity for us to focus on things that matter. Be sober, yes, keep clean, but the sobriety that the Bible is talking about here is the sobriety of heart. Be sober-minded. Allow your mind and heart to be woven into the pages of Scripture and every word that comes out of it, that God will be able to cause you to stand. That is the sobriety that the Bible is talking about. It's saying, be sober-minded, be watchful. Don't just do whatever you want. It is good that you're at home right now, because this time, as Vika said, families had not been together for ages. Right now, we are there. We are right there. This is good time for you to do personal discipleship. This is a good time for you to shed off some issues in your life that you had feigned busyness, so that now you're not able to deal with it because I'm so busy. Be watchful, be careful. That's what the Bible is saying. And why are we supposed to be careful? Much as we are going through a pandemic in the world, there's another reality that holds strong. I think you guys can agree with me that the next statement in 1 Peter 5 says there, verse 8, your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Believe it or not, right now, and you're going to find it in our blogs, and if you go online, you'll see that pornography has hit an amazing high right now, and people are even searching pornography on account of COVID-19. Talk about the devil prowling around like a roaring lion, seeking for someone to devour. So be watchful, my friend. Be sober-minded. Even at a time a time like this, we don't just need a cure for the disease. We need a cure for our hearts. That's what we're saying. And Vic has rightly reminded us that we need to go back to the person that began all things, and that is God. And we need a cure for us. He says, resist him firm in your faith. Yes, he's around there like a roaring lion. He's not joking with you. So be careful. Resist him firm in your faith. Why? Knowing that the same kind of suffering are being experienced by our brothers throughout the world. And if there's anything close to this than COVID-19, then I don't know what. All over the world, it is wreaking havoc in people's lives. People are being buried in their groves. I mean, it's a whooping number. Many people are going through these anxieties that you're going through, the questions that you're asking. And Paul is saying, you know what? Resist the enemy, firm in your faith. And all these challenges that are coming, remember that it is not just unique to you. And after you have suffered a little while, and again, we come back to what we've been saying. It is a little while. This thing is just happening for now. A little while might be 10 years, 15, 20 years. It's a little while in comparison to eternity. And so in this little while that you're going to be in quarantine, I hope that you're going to find God's grace, because the Bible calls him the God of all grace, the one who has called us into eternal glory in Christ. And he will restore, he will confirm, he will strengthen, and he will establish us. These are things that you can rest upon. There is eternal hope, and we have a God that has written the story for us. And so as you're there and you're listening, as I appreciate it, guys, thank you so much for sharing today and all the amazing things you've been able to say. Verse 7, before we just finish the whole thing, this is one of the last things that I want you to do then. In the wake of such kind of a pandemic, with all the anxieties and the depression and the stress and the uncertainties that are there, and the boredom and the opportunity for sin and much more sin, Peter would say, cast your burden unto the Lord, because he cares for you. Is it anxiety? Are you afraid? Do you have questions? Are you wondering why all these things are happening? Take all that and cast it upon the Lord. Why? Because he cares for you. I think that's a good thing, something that you could use for today. God cares for you. You can cast all those cares, all those anxieties, and even the realities of COVID-19 that is wreaking havoc in many people's hearts and minds. You better off find yourself in the safety of the sovereignty of the God of all peace. And so, gentlemen, it's been nice to just be with you guys today. Our time is right about up, and I think I don't want to allow you guys to add anything because you're all preachers unless you want to say something else. These guys are okay. We give you an opportunity, but you can reach us out. You can call us at 0799-254-254, and somebody's gonna be there just to minister to you and to interact with you. You can reach us. You can reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and email. Kuza app. You'll find us there. Those are our handles. Give us a text message. You can check us out on our app. Please download it. Read the devotions. I know you have too much time in your hands, and there's probably not much that you're doing. You're sleeping till late, and then you're awake till late, and you can all culture these things. Remember, as a matter of precaution, sanitize yourself. Don't be too close to people that you don't need to be with. Do not go round and round and round. Don't be like the devil. Kuranda randa. It's time now to relax. Take it easy. Wash your hands. It is going to pass. It is a cloud, and we as Kuza are here to minister to you. So that has been Vic Mwenyewe Saddam, and this has been Matt Elmore, and this is your man Mavwa Pauline, and for today we are saying adios. We are out.